Hello, everyone. My name is Menika Caravel, and well, I'm gonna pop a video on to talk about the downloads and insight my guides have given me on why Earth is the way it is. We're gonna talk about, yeah, why it's so dark here on planet Earth. I mean, there's so much beauty, obviously. There's a lot of love and creativity and innovation and connection. And then there's just war and destruction and natural disasters. And even on the micro level between people, there's sometimes a lot of betrayal and hurt and jealousy and separation. And oh my God, like all the human things, there's just so much. So, what my guides have shared with me is that, and a lot of this is kind of abstract. I have no way of proving any of this. This is just what resonates with me and like the insights I've given because, like most of us, have existentially struggled with just like how hard it can be down here. Just right now, I'm watching like fires ravaging LA. I still live like a couple hours from there. So, what they've shared with me is that the one mind, especially like younger souls, so in this paradigm, like there's one mind with many faces. And the greater awareness kind of becomes perspectives, like it evolves and wants to explore and experience. Like you could say that the awareness that is playing this character of Menika, wanted to explore a certain theme. And I might have many reasons for having come here. Like it could be for service, it could be to kind of iron out some things I had with some other people in different lives that are concurrently happening, that are happening right now. Uh, Maybe relative to this life, they could be future or past, but it's all happening right now. And when younger souls, just like seeds, like you could look at a grandfather tree and know that if you were a supercomputer and you could like follow the genealogy of this tree and its seeds and where they go, you could see that that seed was latent in that ancient tree. In the same way, souls are like seeds, they're like latent, these perspectives of the one mind, multifaceted perspectives of the one mind are like seeds and they're latent. And then within eternity, at some point, they emerge. There's just an impulse to be and to express and or whatever it could be. Like it could be like I want to go to Earth and serve at this time of ascension because the Earth is going through an ascension. It's a being as well. And she hosts all of us while we're having our being experiences. So younger souls, just like younger individuals. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's like this, but I certainly was as an adolescent. Like when I learned about sex and, substances and alcohol, like all these things, I experimented with everything. I was very, very experimental. Um, and then, so this is very normal. So what happens with the psyche, like a new perspective, a younger soul, and we're all young compared to like when we are one mind. When we're one mind, we're like the eternal, like Godhead. We're like everything. But there's different levels of experience, and you kind of have to expand into that. So, a younger perspective, okay, this is not like source of the multiverse, but a younger perspective wants to explore. And so, spirit or God or source or divinity as the one mind says, go forth and explore. You have a safe container, which is 3D. Things move very, very slowly here. So it really takes a lot of like focus and concentration to really materialize here. Of course, it's changing. Like you can see, like for those who are like attuned to it, and if it's in their destiny at this time, they're like awakening. And you'll find it's more like 4D now. Like things kind of can manifest really, really quickly. So and that's probably more of a reflection of the person, but there is an ascension way of going through. Like this is what my guides have said, and I've kind of like felt this as well. It's pretty intense right now for me. Even though my life is very simple, I've kept it very simple right now. I can feel how intense it is. It's like a lot to stay like if you're like psychic and like really open, it's a really intense energy right now that's coming. And so everyone's kind of riding on this wave. But anyway, to go back to the topic at hand, younger souls need to explore all these things. And so that's what this kind of extreme duality that's available in 3D is for. It's like get it out of your system, explore all the realms of crazy emotions, reactivity, back and forth, cause and effect, all this kind of stuff. And so that's basically what my guides have expressed, and I really related to that. Hopefully this isn't too nebulous. I kind of just jumped into like my paradigm without like really sharing the background. But I think if you end up on this video, you probably have some background, and you probably have some kind of sense of what I'm talking about. I think if you would land on a video like this. So so basically, the reason there's so much darkness here is because this is like the place for younger souls, such as ourselves, which is pretty much everyone here. Like, even if you think you're a star seed from like an intergalactic system or something like that, I know I have a pre-birth memory that came through in hypnosis, and I have some other memories, and it pieced it all together. And yeah, my memories are from, I was a star seed, if you will, and I was called here at this time, but I'm under the veil like everybody. And still, I was like a 5D being that's relatively super young. I mean, you're talking about octaves of frequency experience to like the source level of being. So we go under the veil here, and then there is shadow playing out. The psyche is playing out shadow on all these levels. Duality, essentially, the positive polarities and the negative polarities. And there is no judgment, because it's like the kids got to get it out of their system. It's not to say there aren't repercussions and things like that, like souls come out of here, if you really like lived a life of like hell-bent destruction, you're going to be in a healing tank for a really long time, because when you look back, even though you agreed to play a violent character, uh oh, and I should probably touch on that. The other thing my guides have said is it's like it takes two to tango. Like, you need cowboys and Indians. You need cops and robbers. So we often will take, there's many reasons for why we would take a character and the destiny that goes along with that character, which I'm going to probably dive into another video, but I'll just touch on it here in a minute. There's so many reasons for why someone would take, and I don't even think it's singular, because the soul, a perspective, is so multifaceted, and it has contracts and relationships, and then it has its own dharma, what it wants to fulfill, its own experiences, then it has what it wants to extend and teach. So there's so many levels of being, and sometimes we even we'll take one for the team, like in a life, and we'll be like, okay, I will be your nemesis in this life so that you can play your hero's journey, and then I'll also fulfill some other things that I've wanted to do. So anyway, I hope that I've kind of expressed that essentially the reason there's so much darkness here, and this is a very, very dense system, there's even denser. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure that, like I've seen in hypnotherapy, like there's slave planets. There are like really even more intense than this, but they're like, it's not much more, but it's like still it's pretty bad. I mean, even on Earth, there's like some really, really dense, horrible things. I mean, there's crazy wars going on all over the world. I can't even imagine. So all of this is being played out because the psyche needs to play it out. And it does feel like, it's like victims and aggressors, but it's not really, because like I said, they've said that it takes two to tango. And even people who are living kind of like a darker expression, or what we would interpret as like really negative or something like that, they're kind of expressing that on behalf of the whole. So and it's like steam that needs to be let out. It needs to be explored, because then when you go up into the kind of like higher frequencies, and you start to go into the higher, more subtle, nuanced realms of like divinity, you don't even go there anymore, because you've explored it. So I don't know if this resonates with people, but I know for me, myself, like my motto when I was a teenager was like, I'm gonna party till the day I die, because I just love partying. And now I'm like a complete hermit. I mean, I definitely have like both sides of my personality. I love to be social, but like, I've gotten a lot of that out of my system, and I might engage in partying and go to a crazy festival and let loose or something, but it's like definitely not at the same level as what I used to do. Like, I now know what I like. I know what I prefer. I know the kind of um, responses in life that I like. And yeah, for me, maybe that happened in like one life, but for some people, we're all in different parts of our journey for the character that we're playing. Like, that's the thing, is like some people are like, oh, I'm a young soul, I'm an old soul. But the thing is, like, the one mind is choosing like different rays of the one mind. If the one mind is like source, okay, the sun, then different rays are like different perspectives. And then there's like little rivulets off of those rays. so many different metaphors for how you can think of it, like the sun, or you can think of it as like the ocean. Um, anyway, so the other thing I wanted to share that I think is really maybe a little different from a lot of the perspectives that are shared nowadays on these kinds of topics is my guides have been like, you can essentially toss the kind of traditional concept of karma like out the window, in the sense that like karma and reincarnation, there's like no real punishment or anything like that. There's, I mean, which seems from a human perspective, you're like, oh my God, this person did so much evil stuff. Like they should be like punished for eternity or something like that. But no, the spirit's just into reform. And so, and spirit understands like we're playing parts for an experience. We're eternal and we're just experiencing what it's like. And when I chose this character, for example, it's the part of a healer because I'm actually very artistic by nature, and if I could just like sketch my whole life out now, it would just be like all about the arts, and like yeah, it would just be like a very like lighthearted life. But in fact, my life has had a lot of I've had a lot of trauma. I've gone through like a lot of emotional difficulty, like a lot of people, but in different ways. I think for some people it shows up, you know, maybe in their career, in their family life, or some people it shows up. So it shows up differently for everybody. But for me, it's been very, very, very difficult and very trauma. I've had to move through a lot of trauma. So, but because of that, I'm becoming a healed healer. And so therefore I can fulfill my Dharma, which is here to like help transmute energies while I'm here. It's not super glamorous. I mean, as a human, for me, it's not like something that I really want to get involved in. My nature is kind of like a cat's. I just want to like go off and do my own thing and just enjoy life to the best of my ability. But yeah, I came here to heal. Like that part of me that maybe I'm consciously not as connected with did come here for healing. And so the destiny associated with the character that I chose in order to fulfill my Dharma, which is like my mission, my purpose, what I'm here to be and express, the fulfillment of this character needed to have this kind of like difficult, very blessed and auspicious in some ways, but very like difficult journey in order to become who I am. So this is different from like the traditional idea of karma that I was raised with, which is you have this life because of things that you did in your past life. Like your life is good in these areas because you were good in these areas, and your life is bad in these areas because you did something bad in your last life. And what my guides have shared with me is like, this is not the case. Like maybe that's the information that was downloaded at the time because for the level of understanding and the broadness of the consciousness at the time, that's kind of how they had to understand things. And they just believed reincarnation was one life after one life. I mean, even today, there's so many huge groups of, you know, whatever religions, institutions, and they don't even subscribe to karma or reincarnation or anything like this. So this is a little bit more Eastern, but we definitely reincarnate, not one at a time. It's not a linear thing. It's multiple characters at the same time because we're not limited in our consciousness though as humans, as spirit, we're very vast and very able. So going back to this Dharma karma thing, the reason I feel like this was so huge for me is because if your life is really challenging, it's not because you were some kind of bad person or you're like paying for something that you did or you were tortured and so now you need to know what it feels like in this life. It has more to do with your Dharma and what you're here to do and who you really are, who this character is. Like you are not even your character. Your awareness is playing this character for an experience. And this character, you could say, is kind of like Pinocchio becoming a boy. You're merging with Pinocchio. Like if your character was Pinocchio, I'm Menica. So awareness, I as awareness, and this programmed character, because this character is basically like a bunch of programs based on like my environment, my genetics, all this kind of stuff. And as I start to become more aware, which is destiny, as I become more aware, then there's this kind of merging, like this character becomes like a real boy. And then there's even the possibility for this character, if it wants to become, to continue on and explore, you can say eternity from this perspective and like also take many characters and stuff like this. This is kind of like getting a little deep and we can talk about another video, but I just want to talk about this karma dharma thing because I just feel like a lot of people are like, I don't know what I did in my last life. And there's like, if I talk to people with like this kind of Eastern belief, and I just want to, for those of you that this resonates with, you can just kind of shelve that if this resonates, because it just has to do with your Dharma. If you're here to be a healed healer and to heal, you need to know what it's like to be traumatized. Because how are you going to help people? Like if you are a whatever you do in life, if you've had personal experience with it, it's going to be that much more potent. So I'm thinking of like this nutritional mentor that I was following for a while, and she was on a totally different track. And then, so unfortunate, it seems so unfortunate, she lost her husband. She had, she has children with this person, but because of the illness that he had, it completely redirected her life so that she started studying nutritional medicine, like functional nutrition. So it had to do with her Dharma. It wasn't like she did something to lose her husband or she deserves this. There's nothing like that. It was like a contract. They agreed to it. Like this is what my guide said. On the other side, they've agreed to it. And the loss of him would get her into a whole new track, which would be fulfilling her Dharma. And now she's just like a powerhouse in her field. So these are the couple things I wanted to touch on in this video about how shadow is just playing itself out here and doesn't make it always easier. But I think sometimes having a little bit of that knowledge can existentially at least like set you at ease that this is actually a safe construct in which all this kind of stuff is happening. I know there's been threats like of nuclear war, and for those of you find kind of follow disclosure and stuff, like ETs have been like ETs, which are ascended, like basically 5D, more advanced future selves of ourselves, have come to kind of intervene. Like I've heard stories of this, and I myself have had some contact with them, and that may be the case, but that's also within this construct. So they're trying to protect this construct, but essentially this construct is safe from the rest of the great mind. Like it's okay. 3D is meant to express these kinds of energies. It's very much like a kettle boiling and the lid's on it. And so stuff gets explosive, but this is the place to explore it. So my first video in a long time, and hopefully I can be consistent, keep throwing stuff out here. But this was on my mind and I want to start sharing. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I think I'm going to call this channel Vibrational Sciences. It's a blog podcast I had, several years ago for a few years, but I've never forgotten it. My mentor gave it to me, one of my guides. And so, yeah. So I think welcome to the Vibrational Science channel and stay tuned for more.